Hey everyone, it's Aaron Schatz again, Editor-in-Chief of ASE Publishing, and this is another ASE Labs video review. Today we'll be looking at the Synology DS712 Plus. This is the small and medium business model, and this is review ID 32908. You can check out this and all our other reviews by going to www.ASELabs.Old. So let's get right down to looking at this new review. Okay, so compared to the previous models that we reviewed, that would be the DS210J and the DS211, you can tell that this model is very different. The DS712 Plus is all black, which basically signifies that it's a higher-end business model. The case on this is metal instead of plastic, and the fan on the back is a 92mm fan. On the back it also has 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, 2 USB 2 ports, the ASE adapter, actually this is a DCM port, and the ASELabs.Old port for actually expanding the storage on the unit. The front contains the 2 drive bays and the various indicator LEDs, the power button, and the USB copy button. We'll get more into that in a little bit. So let's say you want to install some drives into the DS712 Plus. It's very simple actually. You actually, while you're looking at the device, push down on the bottom part where the key actually would lock this, and then pull out the hard drive, like so. It is hot swappable, and as you can see, the drive just screws in, like so, and then pops back in place. So I put it in here, theoretically everything should work, and put it in here, it clicks a little bit, then you push this down, and it's all locked in and ready to go. Now you would do the same thing for the second drive here, and then after you've done that, you actually go set up the unit on the software side of things, which we'll cover a little bit later. But basically, the actual hot swappable bays make this a more robust and more useful unit than the actual home-based units that we reviewed in the past. So now the unit's actually running. Start that again. So the DS712 Plus is running. I don't know if you can hear it. Well, if you can, that you have really good hearing, because basically the whirring of the fan is very low, very quiet stuff, very good stuff. So I'm going to show you how the USB transfer works, and I have here a USB flash drive, and you basically just plug that right into here and good to go. Now you're asking yourself, what's the utility of having a flash drive? How about having a card reader? Think about that. Plug this card reader into here. And let's say you have people with all kinds of different memory cards, like this secure digital card, for instance. So I'm going to take this, plug this secure digital card into here, and then wait for the copy to light up, which it just did. Hold it down, you can see it blinking, and after that's all done blinking, that means I can remove the card and be on my way. And all the data from the card is backed up securely and safely onto this NAS. If you need to share it, you can actually put it into a shared folder. Very, very good, very useful feature to have. I have a lot of stuff on this, so I don't think I'm going to wait for it to transfer. It's about 2 gigs. And unfortunately, this is not USB 3.0. And hopefully the next or some type of model above this will have USB 3, because transferring at USB 2 speeds nowadays is actually very painful. You have your ASELabs.Old on the back, but that's really for only expanding the storage of the unit in general. You can also take USB flash drives or mass storage devices, attach them in, and actually use them to serve and have additional shared folders as volumes on this device. The problem is you're going to run into the bottleneck of the actual USB transfer speed as well. So while you can expand the storage almost limitlessly, you're better off always using the ASELabs.Old port on the back, at least until Synology puts some USB 3 ports onto here. Alright everyone, now we're on my computer and we're going to log into the DS712 Plus interface running Disk Management 4.0 software. Log in real quick. And as you can see, the interface is remarkably similar to the old software. You have some icons on the left, you have the menu up here, and you have this little status area here. You have notifications up here, and as you could see, I'll show you in a little bit what I did to cause all these notifications to come up. So let's go into the control panel to see what we can do with the unit. Now, when you first set up the unit, you're going to want to make sure all the sharing options are on there, like the Windows File Service, which is Samba or CIFS. And The recycle bin is really, really handy if you have people that just delete their files without even thinking about it. So you might want to enable that option. And the logging option too, just to see who's transferring what. You can enable Mac file service and NFS. So let's go back. You can enable FTP access, just like all the other versions of the software. You can do this too. Connection, security settings, just to show you the screens. WebDAV is an advanced option. Most people probably won't use that, so I'll skip over that. And the user and group section, as you can see, I have 3 users, one that I actually added, which is myself, obviously. Now to create a user, you just go into create, you add a name, do this whole thing, and then you can add them to a group. Now, when you go into groups, it's the same thing. You can create a group. And the usefulness of having groups as opposed to just users is that you can assign users to a group and then give the group permissions instead of just the individual users. So if you had 100 users, you could assign them to one group and actually have group permissions instead of having to individually give access to each user. So it's very helpful to have groups. So let's go into shared folders now, because that's pretty much what a lot of people are going to do with this. And we're going to go ahead and create a shared folder. We'll call it share, obviously. And all these options are fine. We don't have any Windows ACLs. And file indexing doesn't really matter. So I'm going to click OK. And this is a wizard, so now it's going to give me the privileges screen. Now I'm going to select local groups instead and give access to pretty much everyone on there. And you can go see here, there's other advanced privileges, but most people probably won't use those. So I'm going to give everyone access. That's fine. Just go ahead. Don't worry about that. So now you can see that there's a share folder set up. And if I actually go into the file station, you could see that it's right here. And there's nothing in here at all. And you can add it into there. Oh, the file station needs Java if you want to do advanced things like uploading. So that's why that message came up. I don't really want to install Java onto my browser right now. So we just created a share, and that's how that works. So directory service for LDAP or whatever you have, like Windows Active Directory. We'll skip over that. So now we go down to network services, and the initial thing you're going to want to do is actually skip down to here for the system. So let's go into network and see what we got going on here. Let me move this a little up here a little bit, as you can see. And as you can see, I named my server as I do all my internal network stuff with ASE in front of it, and gave it the router's DNS and gateway address. And you can see over here in the network interfaces, there's 2 LAN connections, and you can actually bridge them. So if I went to create, you can actually see you can aggregate those. But I don't have a network that supports that, so we're left with the regular options here. In addition, you could also tunnel IPv6 over IPv4 connections, just as you could in the previous software. I'm going to get out of this screen. Let's go into the DSM settings, and you can see you could change some, interfaces and stuff, and then you can also change the actual port that the software runs off of. By default, it's 5000. You can enable HTTPS if you want to, but if it's an internal thing and there's nobody else logging on besides network administrative staff, then that's neither here nor there. Some other options that you could set, like enabling, the router to actually come into your network. I don't recommend doing this at all, but to each their own. So let's go into some other options, regional options. I'm going to change this to Eastern Time because that's how I roll. And it is 4:26. Apply. And there you go. And the language, obviously I'm going to leave this as English. So you have your notification settings here, and you can change the notifications like that came up here. You can email, you can send SMS, you can do even push services if your phone supports that. And you can select what notifications you want to be notified about. Really handy stuff if this is on a network and you have an IT staff that you want to contact. Let's go check over to power. So obviously restart automatically after a power failure. Very important stuff to do because sometimes you don't have physical access to the machine or you're not in the location. You want it to restart automatically after a power failure. Very important. So yes, you want it to beep all the time. I don't suggest changing this at all. UPS support, you can plug it in USB. And you can create some schedules for turning it off and on, no problem. And this is just some power management stuff, obviously. So if you go into external devices, you can see I have none here. But let me go and see if I have one real quick, and I'll show you. I'm going to plug in a USB thumb drive real quick. Actually, better yet, I'm going to plug in a card reader and then see what that does. So let's see here. I got a card reader, and there you go. So you can see I'm going to get, what is this thing? So it's a card reader, and you can see that it's FAT file system, and it's about 2 gigs. And if I wanted to, I can actually copy it. And this is where you would do it on the unit itself. So in the front of the unit that I showed you before, you have that green like button in the front, other than the power button, that's right above the USB port. That's what you would use to copy the actual USB mass storage device onto the unit automatically. And here's where you enable that. Really, really helpful to make sure that that's on. So make sure that's on, select where you want it to copy, and then you can actually do that. Now, if you added a printer, you can actually share the printer as well. Very cool stuff. I'm going to remove the USB drive right now. And you can restore your defaults, and you can check for updates. Very helpful stuff. Oh, let me show you why the volume is busy. If it wasn't busy, you could check for updates, but mine's pretty current. Let me show you what I did for testing. I'm going to go into, where is it? This is always helpful. I'm going to go into Storage Manager. Okay, and you can see how it's repairing the volume. What I did for testing, make sure that the RAID actually works on the unit, was pull one of the drives out, and then the volume became degraded. And then I put it back in, and then I sent the repair process on its way. Now you have a 1 terabyte drive here, and basically what it has to do is to go through all of the actual data on the drive, even if it's blank. As you can see, that I only used about 4%, and it still has to go through everything, just making sure that everything is consistent and matches up together. So that's what's taking a long time. I believe this is about 2 hours of work right now. Maybe a little less, maybe an hour and a half. But you can see it takes a long time, so don't just go and unhooking the drives and pulling them and pushing them back in. It's not going to work the way you think. But just make sure that if you do have a drive failure, that you replace it quickly enough, because there have been situations where I've been working in places that somebody had a drive failure and they said, I still got the one working drive, and then all of a sudden a couple days later the second drive had some sort of error, and then they lost all their data. So remember, when one drive fails, immediately replace it, because it's just good management to do that. And you can check your smart status on everything. You can do smart tests. So as you can see, so even with everything going on in the unit, it still doesn't even reach 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you wanted to, you can increase the fan speed, of course, but there's no real reason to. You can also make iSCSI targets and stuff with this thing. Pretty cool stuff. So let's go back into the control panel now. And actually, before that, let me show you the package center. So look at this. As you can see, what I have running on here, I have the photo station, media server, the download station, the surveillance station, and the audio station running. That's not just what's available. Here's what's available. You have all these options, including other third-party options that I don't even list on here. So you can actually go on Synology's website and get a whole bunch more things to do. It's really, really that easy to install. Like, if I wanted to install the time backup, I hit this button, and there you go. And I mean, there you go. Let me go back and install something else that doesn't require a new volume. So let's go to the syslog server. That's good. Oh, I understand. So, one of the helpful things about doing a video review is not understanding how the actual software works until you actually try it. So basically, it's not going to allow me to do anything until the volume is actually repaired totally. So we're just going to skip over that part. I may edit that out. If not, whatever, you guys can keep going. So as you can see, this is what I have running right now, and since I can't change anything, we're just going to have to go and see what I have installed. So let's go into the Web Services tab. And you can see that I already enabled the web station. So if I actually make a new tab real quick and show you, the only thing I have on there is actually PHPMyInfo. And you could see that the software was built on May 10th, obviously, because that's when the download was. and it's running 2.6.32.12, which is fairly old, but I'm assuming that Synology does backport changes, and it's running x86-64. This is an Atom processor at 1.8 gigahertz. It has 2 threads available to it. So it's not a dual-core processor, but it's multi-threaded, what Intel likes to call hyper-threading. So you can enable MySQL as well, and enable personal websites for every user on the device. Let's go into PHP settings, PHP cache, register globals. I don't know why they even have the safe mode options anymore. Those are kind of meaningless now. And you can actually add additional HTTP ports. Instead of port 80, you can add 81, 82, 83, whatever you want. You can also enable HTTPS if you want as well, but I'm not going to. And there's a whole host of advanced options that you may want to use in here. But basically, I want to show you some of the actual cooler stuff now. So if I go into the download station right now, you can see that I'm downloading Kubuntu, which is totally cool. So what I'm going to do is open a new browser window real quick, and I'm going to go to another website. I should have had this done for everybody before, but you guys can bear with me while I'm doing this. So I'm going to go to Ubuntu and then get that, and then I'm going to download it and going to get the BitTorrent things. Here we go. Here we go. AMD64. Okay, copy that. And what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I'm going to set up a share from downloads. And I have this queue, as you could see right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this file that I just downloaded. I think I downloaded it somewhere. There we go. Put it on my desktop. So I'm going to get the file as soon as I find it. Hold on one second. And I'm going to copy it into this queue. Oh, and you see it just went away immediately. Now I want to show you why that happened. Now you see the actual downloading commencing already just by me dropping that file in. That to me is such a useful feature. So before, with the old software, I actually had to log into this and actually manage everything. Now I could just drop a torrent file into that queue folder and actually have it go automatically. That is so cool and useful. You do that in settings right here. So let's go into BitTorrent settings, and you can see you can limit everything there, which is totally fine. And it has other file hosting things, but here is where you actually do what I just did. So you give a destination folder to get the entire download system to work, right? So I chose the folder called download, obviously. And then in that, I added another folder called queue, which I could drop files into and have the download station actually do everything automatically. That is so useful. Really, you should enable this and let people just use it. This way you don't have to log into the software. It's just that much useful. So I'm going to close that out. Go into the surveillance station just like before. Bring this up here. Got my little IP camera still on here. You can go into live view and see that. Software just didn't really change. It's still the same kind of thing. It still works very well. If you actually have one that supports pan, tilt, and zoom, it can do that as well. Like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to add a camera real quick. Or I'm not going to add a camera because I only get one license for this. So you'd have to buy additional licenses. But if I wanted to, see if I can edit this camera to show you how many brands there are. Look at this. Look at how many cameras that this supports, and including the big ones. And it even includes open standards too. And that's really, really cool. So you could theoretically buy any of those cameras off the shelf and set those up, and it'll be automatically working. And if they support pan and tilt and zoom, it'll work on this thing as well. Very useful stuff. Let me show you some stuff what I got here. So this is where I was changing and moving the camera. So it does events. You could do notifications through that as well. So it's very, very useful as a network video recorder. Good stuff from Synology. I like to see stuff like this. I like to see network video recorders that you don't have to buy these really, really ridiculously expensive machines. Let's go to PhotoStation real quick. And you can see that it's basically like a gallery system. and that's me, and that's my dog, and these are all folders that I had from individual cameras. And it works just like any gallery does, but it's on your internal network, and you can have other people just drop folders into that share and have them automatically have thumbnails and everything. Really, really cool stuff. I like the photo station. Haven't really used it in the past, but I'm going to start using it now. So let's go over to the audio station. Nothing's really changed on this. Maximize this window. You can actually go into any shoutcast stations and choose like electronic, and I don't know, let's choose this one. Start that thing up there. Just turn my volume on. Raise the volume a little bit. I don't want you to hear it anyway. Don't worry about it, it's playing. Remove that out of there, I don't want it anymore. Get out of that. And that's pretty much that stuff. And now let me show you the quick start guide real quick, which I should have showed you initially. So you start here, and it basically gives you an overview of how to do everything, right? Very simple, very intuitive. You don't really need to use this. Most people are just going to dive right in, go into here, start to do everything, control panel, get into here, do everything you need to do. It's also a DLNA server, of course, just like the other ones are. And you get a whole host of cool things. And let's go over the Help Center real quick. And it's much improved over the previous versions of the software. You could drill down, like go into control panel. If I want to get into file sharing privileges, it tells me how to do all this stuff. Like, how do you create a user? It gives me the steps to do that. How do you import users from the old ones or from any other ones? How do you edit a user? How do you remove a user? Very useful stuff. And the layout is very good. So if I check my notifications, you can see that all the stuff that I've been doing on here. Still, the fact that I pulled the drive out and detected the failure, started beeping like crazy to me, and then I put it back in, told me to repair everything. The unit works. The DS712 Plus works as intended. It's the kind of device that you set up once, and then once it's running, you don't even notice that it's there. It's fairly quiet. It's running right next to me, and you probably can't even hear it. And it's just an all-around really excellent thing to buy. I mean, granted, it's a little less than $500, but the target market isn't Soho, isn't the small office, home office kind of thing. It's small and medium business. And for that, the oomph you get with the increased processor speed and memory, it really, really does work really well and really fast. So yeah, Synology makes some excellent, excellent products. But in addition, they also support their products in the past. Like if you bought a 2009 unit, you could still update the software to the latest version. You might not get all the features that the new things support because of the speed or anything, but you get the software itself, and that's really, really cool. Not a lot of companies support older products like Synology does, so my hat goes off to Synology on that, and really, really good stuff when you buy their products. And let's see here. What else did I want to show you? Anything? Nah, that's pretty much it. You've pretty much seen everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and log out of there, and then we'll wrap up this review. The Synology DS712 Plus retails for a little less than $500. It's pretty expensive compared to the older and less units like the DS2XX series, but this is targeting small and medium businesses, and for that it's a great price. It's speedy, it gets the job done. After you set it up, everything just works, and that's really what businesses really want nowadays. They don't want to have to spend time, and then it's just like if you have a Microsoft Exchange server, you know that's a daily, it's like pulling teeth with that thing. You don't want to have to continually, monitor and make sure everything works. This thing, you set it up once, and it works, and it keeps going. Very little maintenance required. Very awesome stuff from Synology. In addition, because you buy a product from Synology, they support it like way down on the life cycle of it. I still have my old DS210J. It can run the actual new Disk Station Management 4.0 software. Really good company to buy from. So you know when you're buying a product, it's not only the product that you're buying itself and that's it, you're off. No, Synology will support that for years to come, and that's really good peace of mind. ASE Publishing would like to thank Synology for sending this product for review. You can check out links on ASE Labs to purchase this product immediately. For ASE Labs and ASE Publishing, I'm Aaron Schatz, and thank you for watching. We're going to be having more video reviews and more content on the site, so please check back often. And, you know, I always ask, but you can leave me feedback, and I know I haven't been responding to a lot of them, but I've been reading them. So if you would like to send some feedback in, you can email me, send me a private message, or just post on these YouTube videos. I always love reading them, and I will start answering the questions that you have. So thank you very much for watching.